What's going on, Toy Fam? Project Piper Customs here, and welcome back to a long overdue episode of the Custom Cave. How are we all doing? Hope you're all safe and well and not gone insane from isolation, and hope you're all keeping busy, as you can see I have. And obviously, as you can see in front of you, we have the Marvel Legends Avengers Endgame Iron Man. Now I've gone with a different bit of a format change on this one, sort of harking back to the first one I did of these with the old Captain America. And yeah, so I'm presenting you with the finished item first, and I'm going to go through and break down everything I did with the figure. Just trying to get a feel to see which kind of format resonates better. Whether it be this style or the style where I make the whole thing on video with the montage of the build in between. But yeah, so I thought I'd just try it this way for a bit, as this one took a few days to do, just on and off, working on a few bits and pieces. But yeah, so what do I start with? Well, first of all, as you can see, I've already got another Iron Man in the back there. And what I did, obviously, I bought two of these, and it's just to have, obviously, one being, as you can tell, this is from the classic scene at the end. Spoiler alert, if you ain't seen the damn movie, what is the matter with you? Obviously, it's him as he's about to snap Thanos out of existence. So I wanted to really focus the custom work on that particular design. But I also just wanted another regular, nice and clean and tidy version for the display itself as well. So I had another, and I gave him a full repaint too. No battle damage or anything. I was going to, and I may add a little bit of wear and tear here and there. But basically, also this was just mainly a blank canvas, just to see how the paints would look all neat and make sure they all married up all right with the golds and the metallic red and the silver. And it was nice just to clean up some of the areas where they got a bit sloppy in the factory from the just original release. So yeah, this is just, as you can see, a standard repaint, which I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Okay, and so I'm going to pop him aside over there, and we're going to dive straight into this one now. As you can see in front of you, we have two alternate heads and an alternate hand. These two heads came from SFab's workshop on Instagram, same place where I got me Thor head over there. And I've also, don't know if I managed to get anything else from him. Yes, I also did get a couple of other bits and pieces from him, and I really love this guy's head sculpt. And out of all the other third-party Endgame Iron Man Tony Stark head sculpts I've seen, this, to me personally, in my opinion, is the best. And he has two different versions. So obviously he has the one where he's just beaten and bruised, and then I'll bring this alternate version in up close, and it is the post-snap version. Okay, let's get a little bit of extra light on him there. Okay, sorry about that, just adjusting my lighting so I can get you a better view of this head. So as you're saying, you can see it's really well sculpted. He's got obviously all the damaged charring and burning from after the snap, where he's lost his ear as well. And yeah, all of these are both of these heads are hand painted, and he's just nailed the likeness of RDJ straight away. Okay, so we have that head there, and of course the head on the figure itself. Okay. And it's pretty good, and also I've made them removable, so I'll pop this off. Okay, and all I've done there is just added some blue tack on the bottom. I have dremeled down the top, and obviously I'll go into the neck details from where you see his suit is battle damaged past his neck, and yeah, this one can just pop on as well, again with some blue tack. Okay, just like that. Alright, so it just makes nice for a display option, easy switch of the heads, and you're good to go. Alright, so I'll leave this one on for now, and I'll take you through the ins and outs of the figure. So that is the heads down. So first thing I did with this figure is I gave the whole thing a complete and utter once over with some matte gloss spray. Okay, and this will take away all the sheen of the figure and also give you a nice primed blank canvas to paint on. So that was the first thing I did that with both of them. And then secondly, next thing in the task of things to do, list of things to do, sorry, was I took a Dremel, which I have here. Trusty Dremel, okay, with this particular tool bit at the end as well. And basically just what I did is I went to town all over and created all the battle damage in. Okay, so I had a visual reference from where all the battle damage marks were, and I tried to get them, you know, in the same spots and, as you know, roughly looking the same as what they are. A big damage piece here, bit there, massive chunk on the shoulder, a lot of beaten up battle damage on the arms, especially on the legs. Okay, and I just took the Dremel and I just chewed in all these areas, just chewed it up. Across on the feet and up, and also all over the back too. So once I had done all the dremeling, then it was time to move on to sculpting. And the areas I had to sculpt were the hands. Okay, as you can see, we've got two different hands there. We have an open hand, and also we have a snapping hand. All right, so basically this is, when you get the figure, you get obviously two different sets of hands. You get the fists and you get the open hand, and you get alternates for either side. As I had two of these figures, I was able to get two of this hand. And I obviously used one for the open version, and I took the other, and what I did is I cut two of the fingers off, the two end fingers here, glued them inside the palm, took off the thumb that was sticking out, lopped that off, and then glued it here. A bit of a clean cut, sort of cut away at the inside of the palm so I could get a flush fix. And then for this finger here, the waving the bird finger, which is this one here, I just sliced across the top of it, which allowed me to bend it forward a bit more, and then I glued them together. All right, as you can, I'll put a picture up here. And then obviously there's horrid gaps here, which I then sculpted in. Okay, so I just filled those in with Sculpt, filled this area here with Sculpt, and now we've got ourselves a snapping hand. All right, and yep, so the sculpted details are these little knuckle areas, these little gold and silver knuckle areas. I dremeled down, as you can see here, this design texturing. Okay, I dremeled all of that down on these hands, so it gave me a flat blank surface to sculpt on. And then I went in with the rest of the details. Okay, so I gave it this little seam up the top, the silver seam there. Okay, to smoothen some out, added this center plate, sculpted in the Mind Stone, and sculpted in these squares, which I'll show you some pictures along here. And then with the stones themselves, I actually used droplets of super glue on the end of a needle. I just added a little drop on each one, and then I kept slowly building them up. All right, and building them up until they became sort of like little crystallized mound, and on the thumb too. And that gave me a great surface to paint on, and also provide a little bit of texture. Can't really see it on camera, but the texture's there. Okay, and of course, last thing to sculpt on was the energy veins, you know, trails, whatever you want to call them, that emit down and start cutting into his glove and arm and whatnot. Okay, so I sculpted all of that in. It's pretty simple. I used, where is the stuff? Obviously, out of the two options I used, which is Milliput and this stuff, which is Super Sculpey, I went for this. This is the oven baked clay, so it wasn't fun having to sculpt a little bit of detail here, bake it, and then go in and sculpt some more detail. So trying to do all this in one sculpting session would have been a nightmare. Just because it's too fiddly, I needed some areas to be fixed and cooked and hardened in order to sculpt on top. But this was very, very difficult. As you can see, there's a very tiny little details here. And I had to then repeat all my work again on that hand. So let me pop this hand off. By the way, both these hands can remove, just like that. Okay, and this is the open hand. So yes, having to repeat my work twice on two different hands was not fun. I got it as close as I can to each other. So you can see the Mind Stone in this one slightly bigger. But yeah, this wasn't easy whatsoever. But pretty much the same design, same pattern as both of them there. There you go. Okay, not the easiest thing in the world to do, but I'll pop this one down. Okay, so once I'd finally got all the sculpting details down, okay, and then I moved on and finished up with the sculpting detail here, which I basically added and continued the energy trails, following on the damage. I created these little trenches damaged with the Dremel as I was doing the rest of the battle damage itself, chewing it up, and I deliberately made some trenches up to his neck. Okay, and let's pop the head off so you can see, and across his chest, and of course the arm. Okay, so I did one down this side, split here, a fork there. Okay, and basically, yeah, just sculpted those in the same way I did with the energy charge coming from here. So that when I plug Mr. Hand in, there we are, they sort of marry up as if they're feeding down his arm and going across and up to his neck. Alrighty, Roo. So yeah, that was pretty fun, having to bake your action figure. Which is doable. It won't melt into a puddle of plastic, but it will become all flimsy and floppy, so nice just to stick it in the fridge and let it cool down a bit. And then all the baking was, all the clay and sculpt work was hardened. Once all that was done, I then moved on to the painting, the fun part. Okay, so I started off, and I'll bring this one in as a reference too. Okay, I'll show you what paints I use. Let's give Mr. Iron Man a head. I don't want to get him there looking headless. So I started off with a medium dry brush of my Lumiere, which is a crimson, and it's a metallic red. I've shown this before in the Iron Patriot custom. Alright, and the light's picking that up. Basically, it is a metallic red, but you can see the sheen from the figures there. Okay, so painted up both at the same time. Then went in with my gold and titanium silver Tamiya's. Okay, so this is gold leaf, as you can see it's well used, and titanium silver. Sorry about my lighting, one of my desk lamps is broken and I'm having to just basically work with what I got. Okay, and titanium silver. So once I'd done the red, I then moved on to do all the silver and gold accents, and I'll bring in this one. Yeah, and just using the visual reference, so, and the sculpt, because this has still got some bloody good sculpt in it. For a Marvel Legend, the paint job may not be great, but the sculpt is all there. And obviously I did the helmet too, so I just followed along the visual reference I had in terms of where the greys, the silvers and the golds were. And once all that was done, okay, and then it was time to do the weathering. Okay, which is basically just give all the damaged areas a black wash. Sorry about my lighting, one of my lamps has decided to die on me and I'm having to basically just do the best I can with what I've got. That's why there's no real light coming from this side. Alright, so once I'd done all that, I basically went in with a black wash, which I have just made up, just acrylic black and some water. Okay, quite thin, and I just basically dabbed it heavy in all of the battle damaged areas, so it just soaked straight in. Alright, so it just soaked in every single one of the damaged areas that I'd made. Okay, and I let that dry, and then I did it again. So I did about 3 or 4 black washes of the damaged areas themselves, and then I did about 2 black washes of the rest of the figure to get in all the little nooks and crannies, along with the hands too. And once I'd done that, I then took a very, very light dry brush of the silver, and I went in and just dry brushed around the edges of the damage, so it looked like it was scorn and revealing some of the original metal and iron, as it were. Okay, so there's a good example. Some on the boot there. Okay, yeah, so the very light dry brushing over those areas, and obviously some of the damage inside, so it just looks like chewed up metal. And then same on the back too. Oh, that was his head fell off again. I'll leave that off in a moment, as I want to get into the neck area. So another thing I did, which I forgot to mention, and I'll do now, obviously with the neck peg itself. So I used my Dremel. This was at the time I was doing all the battle damage, and I basically just Dremeled the hell out of the peg, took it off completely, and decided to just Dremel off a layer. So see, I just chewed it in, leaving, this is where the original layer was, and obviously I just bored it in and created a level, so there's a bit of a step, and I created that step all the way around. Okay, and obviously then went in with the black wash and dry brushing of the silver, And I added some sculpted detail on the neck. Obviously those are the tendons we have in our throat area. It's not really that visible when you put the head on, but it's just to give it a little bit of added detail going on the visual reference. Okay. Yeah. Just another little level of detail there to add to it. And yeah, really happy with how this turned out. All right. So yeah, once I'd done all of the weathering on the damaged areas and the figure itself, then it was time to go in with my favourite paints. I say favourite because I hate working with them and they're annoying as hell, yet I insist on continuously using them. I always end up designing projects or setting myself up with projects that ends up using them. But my favourite UV paints. Alright, yep, all 6 colours, all the different shades of the Infinity Stones. Luckily I had. These are UV paints I got from Amazon, and again they come in all these different colours, and these are basically body paints for partying. And as I've said before in my Iron Patriot video, they are an absolute nightmare to work with. They do not lay down like regular paints. They are very lumpy, they move around, they don't really like to stick to surfaces. So it takes a lot of layers and a lot of patience in order for them to build up, and then you can get an even spread across the surface that you're painting. Okay, so I went in with each individual colour on the stones. Alright, I had to mix the orange and yellow to get a sort of decent yellow colour, because this comes out more like a neon green. Alright, and then I painted the energy trails white, and also got green on the thumb too. And then I painted the energy trails across coming up to his neck, and then I gave the arc reactor itself about 5 coats. Okay, to finally get it even and spread out, I gave it about 5 coats. Now I know in the movie he does have some sort of other black triangle sort of technical design going on within the arc reactor. I was going to attempt to try and paint that detail in, but as I was so frustrated, obviously, as I always am with using UV paints. Where's my white one? So yeah, the white too. As I was so frustrated, and by using them and finally getting to a layer level and a surface I was happy with the arc reactor, any sort of cock up with trying to paint in that other detail would have just frustrated the hell out of me. So I didn't want to put myself through that, so I'm just leaving it as is. So yeah, and also it's not really that needed for display or for toy photography. It would be a nice little detail to add, but I was okay and happy not adding it. So yeah, and that is pretty much it. That is how it went down, folks. Okay, but yeah, so these are all UV paints, and let's have a look. So here's my UV torch. Let's kill a light. Bear with me 1 second. It's been a while since I've done this format. So, okay. All right. UV torch. There you go. Alright, so there's the arc reactor light up nicely. You've got these 2 little details. Obviously, he's got tiny little lights going on in the suit too. Yeah, so we've got the arc reactor. Let's bring him forward. And we've got those 2 up there. The energy trails, the arc reactor, those 2 down there. Let's get him to stand up properly. Okay. And the glove itself. So if I can get to a point where all of it lights up at once. There you go. And it's just a nice little added detail. And I know there's some customizers out there that actually do work with a little LED lights, and they found a way of installing them into action figures. I'm nowhere near that level. I'd love to get into LEDs and wiring. Let's turn the light back on. Oosh. But yeah, nowhere near that. So for now, even though they're a pain in the ass to use, UV paints are a great way of creating a tangible light effect, especially with Iron Man's eyes and arc reactor and whatnot. Okay, they are fiddly and a pain in the ass to use, but I think the end result is worth it. Okay, you can even pick it up even with the lights on. So yeah, so that was cool. Very, very happy with how this turned out. I did obviously add some UV details to the other one over there. See, it won't focus for me. There you go. So yeah, there we are. And let me show you how it looks with the snapping hand on. You can see this just pops out. Snapping hand can just go in. There she is. Okay, and again, the whole thing just pops. It is a lot brighter on camera than it is in real life. Let me just see if I can get you to a level. There you go, I've darkened you right down now. Even there's quite nice. So yeah, if you want to add a little bit extra detail to your customs, you can't go wrong with UV paints, but you can go wrong when actually trying to use them. But yeah, other than that, there we are. So that is it for this one, guys. I know it doesn't seem too long. I know my normal custom videos, you know, I'm waffling on for a while, and the actual montage is taking its time. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the different format. Would you prefer this format of me just breaking down how I did it with some visual references pop up every now and then, or do you prefer seeing me actually start, you know, doing the build from start to finish? So it'll be great to get feedback on that for you. But I hope you enjoyed this one, and yeah, let me know what else you would like to see content wise. I'm looking for ideas. As you know, I haven't got really much to do at this point apart from toy photography and customs. I do have a couple of other projects in the works. I'm just waiting for some parts to come through in the post in order to finish them. But once I can finish them, then I'll do some videos on them as well. I'll still continue doing toy photography breakdowns, just showing you some major setups, or if I want to demonstrate a particular trick or a particular technique, I can break it down for you. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you're all well. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new, and definitely drop this drop a like on the video if you can. That'd be great. Well, it all helps right now. And yeah, that is it for now, guys. Thanks very much again. Until next time,